Okay, everybody, you're here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and we are on to the second chakra, which is the sacral chakra, and we're really going to delve into it deeply. It lays right here, pretty much where your genitals would lay, whether you're male or female, and I will just get into the information, shall we? So when it is in its dysfunctional state or in its negative state, the martyr will be coming out of that, and when it is positive or its functional state, the empress or emperor comes from that. Okay, and so reading about the sacral chakra in general, it is located in the lower abdomen about 2 inches below the navel and 2 inches in. In Eastern philosophy, this center is known as the hara, and it plays an essential part in the Asian martial arts as a central focus for movement and coordination. At an emotional level, it governs our sense of abundance, well-being, pleasure, and sexuality. It's a center which has been highly exploited in our society, and no one in our Western culture has perfect function of this chakra. A basic attitude of well-being and having enough are associated with a healthy sacral chakra. Now, moving on to where we get really in depth into this area. Right in here, and remember it's orange, it's number 2, sacral. There's a lot to say on this. I hope I can get it all into this video. So, when we talk about its basic word that might come along with it is sexuality. Its basic issue. Its basic, the basic issue is sexuality. And the element is water and polarity. Okay, water and polarity. Now when we talk about the table of correspondences, the location, like we said, the abdomen, the genitals, lower back and hips, the central issue, sexuality and emotions. Orientation to self is self-gratification. The goals are fluidity, pleasure, healthy sexuality, and feeling. The rights, every chakra has its own right, and this chakra's right is to feel and to want. The developmental stage happens. The chakra, now you'll see that the chakras overlap because we learned that the developmental stage in chakra 1, the root chakra, was womb to 12 months, whereas chakra 2 is 6 months to 2 years. So between 6 months and 12 months, you have the root and the sacral chakra developing together, and I just want to point that out. So chakra 2, the development is 6 months to 2 years. The identity, emotional identity. The demon that comes along with this chakra is guilt. The element is water, as we explained. The excessive characteristics, overly emotional, poor boundaries, sex addiction, obsessive attachments. Now this will make sense if you feel like you have too much of these things or these things apply to you, those words I just read, then it's an excessive characteristic. It's spinning too fast. And now the deficient characteristics, or if it's spinning too slow, either way we want to work on them. The deficient characteristics are frigid, impotent, rigid, emotionally numb, and fearful of pleasure. We talked about the rights, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the right to feel. That is the right of chakra 2, the sacral chakra. The right to feel. A culture that frowns upon emotional expression or considers sensitivity a weakness infringes upon your basic right to feel. You have no right to be angry, quote unquote. How can you express your emotions like that? You should be ashamed of yourself, quote unquote. Boys don't cry, quote unquote, one of my favorites. These kind of injunctions infringe upon your right to feel. Feeling is the way we obtain important information about our well-being. When the right to feel is impaired, we become out of touch with ourselves, numb and disconnected. Also, the right is to want. Since if we cannot feel, it is very difficult to know what we want. Our right to enjoy healthy sexuality is intimately connected with our right to feel. Now talking about the identity of the second chakra, it's the emotional identity or the self-gratification. Now we go to another table. This table is the comparative theories of development. So the identity for the The identity for the sacral chakra is emotional. The age is 6 months to 2 years. The fraud is oral. The Reich is oral. We also have sensory motor, ages 3 to 6. Trust versus mistrust. Safety. Image boundaries. Instrumental. And lower personal unconscious. Okay. Chakra 2, and going into this development, which we talked overlaps a bit with Chakra 1. As the child learns to crawl and walk, she develops the ability to move away from her mother and experience brief episodes of independence. Called hatching, the infant is just beginning to discover that she is a separate self, hatching from an egg-like symbiosis of Chakra 1. As she is still very dependent upon the mother, the discovery is simultaneously frightening and exciting, and therefore fraught with ambivalence as she plunges into a world of diversity and choices. Now we're going to talk about Chakra 2 in reference to the adult development. Once this is accomplished, the development of Chakra 2, one forms sexual relationships. This is not to say that sexuality has not been occurring for many years, but awareness of other now becomes more acute, and the need for partnership may become primary. Emotional frustration may awaken unconscious patterns from the shadow, which may sabotage early relationships, often with misunderstandings, blaming, and emotional turmoil. This is even more acute when the adult senses the personal will and responsibilities have not yet awakened. Another thing to note about the second chakra, this is attached to the unwanted child. The deficiencies of the second chakra, being out of touch with your feelings or out of touch with sensation in the body. These will all describe a deficiency in the second chakra. Feelings are intellectualized, may be distorted or irregular. Lacks trust in relationships, especially physically. Poor physical bonding. Poor sense of nurturing. Movements may be jerky or not fluid. Now I'm going to read a big chunk of just little bits of information I've collected. The second chakra at just a big glance, okay? The element is water. The purpose is movement and connection. The issues that the second chakra deals with are movement, sensation, emotion, sexuality, desire, need, and pleasure. The color is orange. The location is the lower abdomen up to the solar plexus. The identity is emotional. The orientation is self-gratification. The demon is guilt. Developmental stage 6 months to 2 years. Developmental tasks. Sensate exploration of the world and locomotion. The basic rights, the right of the chakra to feel and have pleasure. The balanced characteristics. Okay, so these are the characteristics that you'll attune with and you'll know, okay, these apply to me. I must be pretty balanced there. Balanced characteristics are graceful movement, emotional intelligence, ability to experience pleasure, nurturing of oneself and of others, the ability to change, and healthy boundaries. Now, traumas and abuses that are tied with the second chakra, and we're going to go into a couple of these a little more in detail. Sexual abuse, covert or overt, emotional abuse, volatile situations, neglect, coldness, rejection, denial of a child's feeling states, lack of mirroring, emotional manipulation, overuse of playpen or restricting the normal movement, religious or moral severity or anti-pleasure, physical abuse, alcoholic families, inherited issues, parents who have not worked out their own issues around sexuality, untreated incest cases. Now here are the lists of the deficiencies. So if these words that I'm about to say apply to you, then this chakra is deficient or it's not running quick enough. It's running too slow. Rigidity in the body and attitudes, frigidity, fear of sex, poor social skills, denial of pleasure, excessive boundaries, fear of change, lack of desire, passion, and excitement. Those are if you're deficient. Now the excess, this would be if this wheel is spinning too fast. Either way, we want to get them all spinning at the same speed if we can. That's the goal. So the excess signs are sexual acting out, sexual addiction, pleasure addiction. That can be food, that can be gambling, that can be really any kind of thing that brings you pleasure. Meditation. Excessive, strong emotions, ruled by emotions. So hysteria, bipolar mood swings, crisis junkies. Oversensitivity, poor boundaries, invasion of other people's boundaries. Seductive manipulation, emotional dependency, obsessive attachment, and those are when it's in excess, okay? So if those are reigning true to you, then we need to slow that wheel down. Physical malfunctions that can happen. Disorders of the reproductive organs, spleen, urinary system, menstrual difficulties, sexual dysfunction or impotence, premature ejaculation, frigidity, non-orgasmic, low back pain, knee trouble, lack of flexibility, deadened senses, loss of appetite for food, sex, or life. Now the healing practices for this chakra. Movement therapy, emotional release, or we'll just leave it at emotional release. Inner child work. That's going to be some shadow work, right? Boundary work. 12-step programs for addictions. I don't know how I feel about that, really. Been through some myself and don't really agree with them, but some of them are good. Assign healthy pleasures. Develop sensate intelligence. No. Yeah, sensate. I don't know what that word means. Now the affirmation that's going to be helpful if you want to bring this back into balance. And we have lots of more information on bringing them into balance. This will come in future series. There's only so much I can get into each one of these little videos for a general. Affirmation that you can say out loud as often as you can, or make one up that's in your own words but similar. I deserve pleasure in my life. I absorb information from my feelings. I embrace and celebrate my sexuality. My sexuality is sacred. I move easily and effortlessly. Life is pleasurable. Now moving along, I want to talk about unfolding the petals, the basic issues of the second chakra. Change, movement, flow, sensation, pleasure, emotion, need, desire, the shadow, guilt, duality, and sexuality. Now, we've talked about the developmental formations of the second chakra. We're just going to do this at a glance again. Age is 6 months to 2 years. The tasks of this chakra are to sensate exploration of the world and locomotion, separation from the symbiotic fusion. Needs and issues, separation versus attachment, safety and support to explore, emotional security, stimulating environment, and self-gratification. Now, I told you that we were going to talk about some of the abuses and traumas because I think so many of us have gone through sexual abuse in one form or another, so I'm going to read about that. Sexual abuse hits at the very core of the second chakra. Whether mild or severe, within the family or outside, sexual abuse has long-lasting effects on all aspects of the second chakra. The free flow of energy within the body, the ability to have intimacy, pleasure, and a healthy sexuality as an adult. Comfort with emotions, a healthy sense of boundaries, and a positive relationship with one's own body. It affects our sense to trust, our experience of power or lack thereof, our future relationships, and often, because of the secrecy involved, our ability to communicate. Since it assaults the feeling and the sensate functions of the body. Now we're going to talk about rape. Rape is such an obvious assault to the second chakra that it nearly speaks for itself. The use of sexuality for power and violence, the violation of one's boundaries and one's dignity, the intimidation and annihilation of the spirit within, the assault, it assaults all of the entire chakra system. So even though rape, the abuse and the trauma has to do with the second sacral chakra, it affects every single one of these, from your from your attachment to spirit all the way down to your root chakra and your base. And I think that that's really important to bring up. Where are we here? As the second chakra is the first place in the system where the outside comes in, an essential gateway of being an open system, the violation of rape may force the entire system to close. I'm going to say that again. The violation of rape may force the entire system to close. Any of the effects listed for child sexual abuse can also occur with adult experiences of rape. Now quickly we're going to talk about abortion. An abortion is not an abuse that happens as a young child, yet it needs to be considered here as it can have profound effects on a woman's second chakra. On an emotional level, abortion constitutes a moral struggle, and no matter how liberal one's views, the decision is never easy. It is nearly always accompanied by emotional turmoil, often by guilt and fear, and may entail a profound sense of grief and loss. In addition, abortion halts the natural process of the body that is geared toward continuing the pregnancy. Even with anesthesia, there is assault on the second chakra organs, and such a wound takes time to heal, time which is seldom acknowledged. A woman who has just had an abortion needs to treat herself with the tenderness she would give a rape victim, because in a sense the womb gets raped in an abortion. Now, the last point that I want to talk about is very interesting, and it applies to all 7 chakras, and I just don't want to miss this. So, we're going to start with, in the category here is addictions and their related chakras. So what addiction relates to what chakra? Okay, so when we're here down at the base chakra, this is food, gambling, shopping, and work. All of these addictions. The second chakra, the one we're speaking on in this video, the addictions are alcohol, sex, and heroin. The third chakra, the solar plexus, the addictions are amphetamines, cocaine, caffeine, work, and anger. Chakra 4, this heart chakra, is tobacco or smoking, sugar, love, and marijuana. The throat chakra here, blue, chakra 5, opiates and marijuana. The third eye chakra, hallucinogens, so like mushrooms, LSD, DMT, and then also marijuana. 7, the crown chakra. The addictions that apply to this are religious addictions or addictive spiritual practices. So, not spending enough time doing what you're supposed to be doing, but in meditation constantly. Not that that would be a terrible thing to be in meditation constantly, but anything overdone can be addictive. So there's that. I hope you enjoyed talking about the sacral chakra, and we'll be back to talk about thy solar plexus, which is really a big one for everyone to work on as well. These 3 are just, they're all so important, but these bottom 2, as we're learning, just there's so much that we can apply to our life and our development as a child to maybe how it's running today. I love you guys, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you for being patrons. You are putting food in my bellies, and I appreciate that more than you know. Thank you. Bye-bye.